Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joy McCarthy, and I'm so pleased to be here with you this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to Oxford Connects for bringing me here today to share with you my 7 pillars for joyous health. But before we jump right into it, I'm going to just share a little bit about who I am and my background. So I am a certified holistic nutritionist. I'm the creator of joyoushealth.com, which I started as a tiny little blog from my pink painted kitchen. I don't have a pink kitchen now, by the way, 12 years ago. And now Joyous Health is a Taste Canada award-winning blog. And I'm a regular nutrition contributor. You may have seen me on Cityline or CTV's Your Morning, and that's kind of like their news show. I also have a line of organic and natural body care, skincare, and hair care. And I also co-founded a line of natural health supplements for kids. So if there's any parents out there and you're looking to support your child's immune system and gut health, definitely check that out. So I'm also a 3-time best-selling author. So if you like to cook or you need some inspiration for cooking, then check out your local library or Indigo, Amazon. You can find all 3 of my cookbooks. And by the way, someone messaged me the other day and told me my cookbook was actually at the dollar store, my most recent one. So I was really shocked about that. I was kind of like, okay, that's a really good price. So my philosophy about food is actually quite simple. It's just eat whole foods, eat foods that are really good quality. And when I talk about one of the pillars today, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into that. But the recipes I create are mostly gluten-free, always refined sugar-free. But I'm not vegan, I'm not vegetarian. I just believe in eating really good quality food and figuring out what works for you best. So as a nutritionist, people have always told me that my recipes and my approach to healthy living are very approachable. And I do that on purpose because I practice what I preach. This is what I live and breathe and do. And I'm a foodie first. I love good food. I have a daughter, I have a husband who love food. So I can't be making those slimy, disgusting green smoothies anymore. Everything has to taste good, but also be healthy. So on my blog, if you want more inspiration, aside from my cookbooks, I have hundreds of free recipes and healthy living tips. And I also have a podcast that I run called the Joyous Health Podcast, and we interview fantastic, brilliant guests. So that's a little bit about me. And now we will jump right in to give you some really good news. So I want you to know that only 20% of your health and well-being has to do with your genes. 80% has to do with your lifestyle, what you eat on a daily basis, how you manage stress, how much sleep you get. So genes will only express themselves if they're given the right environment to do so. So, in my background, I definitely have genetic predispositions to things like heart disease and Alzheimer's. But I'm not taking that as, okay, that's just my genes, that's my eventuality, that's what's going to happen to me when I'm in my 60s and 70s and 80s. No, in fact, because I know that, I am doing things to mitigate those risks and making sure that I take care of my cardiovascular health, even at my age. I'm in my 40s, but even, in my late 20s and early 30s, I have been focused on doing things to support my health based on what I know my genes have kind of laid out for me. So your genes might be the blueprint, but you know what? 80%. So it's really good news, right? 80% of it is up to you. So the other thing I want to say before I share what today's discussion is about is that most people actually have no idea how good their body is designed to feel. And I know this firsthand because the first 7 years of my career, I used to work with people one-on-one. I don't do that anymore. But when I did do one-on-ones and I would see people transitioning from how they were eating to eating better, making small changes over time, making some different health pillars a priority, you start to feel really, really good. And it gets you on like this upward trajectory. When you start eating well or you start exercising, you want to do more good things for yourself, because when you start to eat well, then you have more energy. So therefore you have more energy to exercise. When you exercise, you have more energy to do more things. So you have more energy to cook more meals. And, if it's the winter, you have the energy to batch cook on a Sunday and make a big soup or a stew. So most people have no idea how good they can actually really feel. So I'm going to take you through 7 pillars, and these are the 7 here. So be aware, movement. I'll talk about nourishment, to be a good host. And you might be wondering, be a good host. Is Joy going to be talking about entertaining here? Hang on. I thought we're not supposed to have, too many people in our homes right now, depending where you live, of course. But that's not what I'm going to be talking about. I'll keep it as a secret until we get there. The importance of rest. Community is really, really key, and mind your mind. So these aren't just pillars that I just pulled out of the air and just decided, let's just talk about these. This is based on research. This is also based on some really interesting blue zone research. So blue zones are 7 areas of the world where people are living to 100 years old and beyond. And it's also in my own experience over a decade of being a nutritionist, seeing people's changes and knowing what are truly the foundations of healthy living, and not just giving up and saying, whatever, it's my genes, I can't help it. So you have so much power over your well-being. Okay, so pillar number 1 is, first of all, just to have awareness. Before you make any changes whatsoever, just kind of take stock of where you're at and identify how food and how your current lifestyle habits are making you feel. Having an energy check-in. What's your energy like? How easy is it for you to fall asleep? How happy you are. And I would say that most people they're not aware when it comes to their diet because they're eating for convenience. And North Americans actually spend more time watching cooking on the Food Network than actually preparing their own meals. That being said, if it's Jamie Kennedy, Jamie Oliver. I like both those Jamies. They're both like foodies. But Jamie Oliver, you get a pass on that one then, if that's what you're watching. Okay, so research finds that people who eat home-cooked meals on a regular basis are happier and healthier. They consume less sugar, and they eat fewer processed foods. And people who cook at home, they have all those benefits, but then what the research shows is that they are less likely to suffer from chronic diseases, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, those types of things. Now, I realize, throughout the pandemic, the last, 15 months or so, people have been eating more at home, which is great. But I would say, just from hearing from my own community, that a lot of people are still just getting takeout or resorting to fast food or frozen easy meals. The thing is, that's fine once in a while, but if that is like your go-to, then it's time for change. So eat with awareness. And learning to cook for yourself is truly a life skill. I'm a mom, and if you are a parent out there, it's never too late to start. But children who are involved in preparing meals and eat together with their family can really establish health habits that last a lifetime. But it's never too late, because even if you have teenage kids, I've met so many families over the years who've told me that they, gave their child or gave their 16-year-old daughter my cookbook and was like, hey, you decide what we're going to have for dinner. So just giving children that independence and that confidence to choose recipes. Even teenagers who are hormonal and you think they'll never in a million years try anything out, just try it out and ask them what they want to eat and ask them to prepare a meal and see what happens. So how can you be more aware of your eating habits? Cook your own food more often. Studies show that when you cook your own food, you make better choices. It makes sense because you know what's going in your own food. Eat without distraction. So where I'm getting at here is mindful eating, light some candles. We do this a lot more so in the winter when the times change and we're eating at like 5:36 and it's completely dark. We love lighting candles, but lighting a candle helps you be more mindful and helps you be more in the present moment. And believe it or not, mindful eating actually helps you digest your food better. Read your labels like it's your job. So even this guy here who's reading a label of a jar of olives, don't just assume that because it's olives, you're only going to see olives and salt. There are a lot of additives and preservatives within packaged foods. So read your labels so that you can just eat whole, real food. And finally, if you want to take it to the next level because you feel like you don't know what you're eating, you don't know, meaning like you're just not aware how it's making you feel, do a food journal. If you go on to joyoushealth.com, you can download a free food journal in the free download section, and then you write down what you eat for a week and write how you feel after each meal, and that can really help you identify, without doing a food allergy test or a food sensitivity test, if a food could be bothering you. So the most powerful tool you have to impact your health positively is your fork. And let's add to that a good chef knife, because I'm all about having good kitchen equipment. Okay, so pillar number 2 is we're going to move into talking about lifestyle, then we're going to circle back and talk about nutrition again. So move it every single day. You already know this, but let's get a little bit more detailed in this. We sit, and I would say especially within this pandemic, depending where you live, of course, not everyone is still living the same way, but we sit for excessive amounts of time. And anytime you're sitting longer than 1 hour straight consecutively, which we're all going to be doing today, that's okay. It's presentation's about an hour, time for Q&A. So then you can get up and move around. But when you are sitting for excessive amounts of time, which many of us are, it puts you at a much greater risk of many chronic diseases, including cardiovascular disease. And actually, the only solution is to sit less and move more. So movement is so amazing for our body. It gets us out of our heads and into our body. It quiets the brain chatter. We know based on Blue Zone research where people live to 100 years and older, it increases our lifespan, our longevity, and of course boosts our happiness, because when we make movement part of every day, not just going to the gym or going down to the basement and running on the treadmill, but movement as part of your overall day, it boosts your happiness because it boosts levels of serotonin and dopamine. So it also lowers your stress hormone cortisol. Cortisol, when chronically elevated, actually lowers serotonin. Serotonin is your feel-good neurotransmitter. Serotonin is really important for your appetite, keeping your appetite in check, making sure you sleep well. So high stress, low serotonin. Exercise brings down cortisol, and exercise elevates serotonin. Of course, boosts your energy, regulates your digestion, and prevents many, many chronic diseases. And there is just hundreds and hundreds of research papers on the benefits of movement. But you want to make sure, what research shows is that you want to make sure that it's something that you enjoy, whether it's walking, yoga, riding a bike. Yes, I know this photo, I'm not wearing a helmet, but just so you know, I always wear a helmet. This is just a photo we took for my cookbook. And so many people have seen this photo like, Joy, but you're not wearing a helmet. I support wearing helmets. Dancing, sports. So make sure it's something you enjoy. But the point I really want to drill home is that sitting all day and then exercising once at the end of the day is not enough to mitigate the effects, of sitting all day, which put you at a greater risk for cardiovascular disease. So if you sit all day and then you're like, I'm going to go for my power walk now, it's actually not enough. You actually have to sit less and move more. That's why I at my desk in my office, I have a little reminder. I set a reminder on my phone as well, but I have a little post-it note. I actually get up and move every hour. So sometimes I do 20 squats. Sometimes I just do lunges around the office. The point is just to get moving more and to sit less. And the world's longest lived people, they are not pumping iron or running marathons or joining gyms. Although those are all good things, by the way. But I do want to say that, just to drive home the point, they live in environments that constantly nudge them into moving without even thinking about it. So you might want a Fitbit to help you. I wear an Oura ring. This is a ring that is like an activity tracker as well. And, just figure out a way that works for you to get you to move more so that you can increase your longevity and increase your energy. And if you do it outside, actually, if you have movement outside, you go for a walk, a jog, whatever it is, you actually increase the benefits. Those mood boosting benefits are increased. So your serotonin and your dopamine, if you exercise if you, for example, if you run on a treadmill, that's still great. But if you do it outside, you actually increase those mood boosting benefits. And you probably don't even need to see the research paper to know that to be true. For any runners out there, that when you are out in nature, how much better you feel. And even walking. I'm a big walker. Walking is one of my absolute favorite forms of exercise. So I make sure that I get outside and get fresh air every single day and go for a walk. Okay, so pillar number 3 is where we're going to talk a little bit more about nutrition and nourishing your beautiful body. And by the way, all the recipes that I share throughout this presentation are either recipes in my cookbooks or recipes from my blog. This is an amazing recipe. This is a beet smoothie bowl. And that, I believe that one is from my website. I have so many recipes. Sometimes it's like hard to stay on track. Okay, so you might be wondering, Joy, what am I supposed to eat? I don't know. There's keto, there's paleo, there's vegan, vegetarianism, there's the carnivore diet. So yeah, confused? Is anyone confused? A lot of people are confused on what is the best diet to eat. But I will tell you that there is no one diet that is best for everyone. I would say the keto can be good for a therapeutic diet, but not to live on keto. Vegetarian, as I just mentioned, carnivore. But with all of these diets, there are pros and cons to each of them. There is no one diet that works for everyone. There's how many people on this earth? There's over 7 billion people on this earth. That means there's 7 billion different ways to eat. And you may find that a bit overwhelming because you're like, Joy, what am I gonna eat? I don't know what to eat. Yes, you do. You're actually your own best nutritionist, because guess what I eat? I eat the Joy McCarthy diet. I don't want anyone to eat exactly how I eat. We are all unique. We all have a unique biochemistry, a genetic blueprint. So diets don't work because they assume we are all the same. And I think it can be, I think diets can give people some guidance. For example, if you're thinking you want to try vegetarianism or you want to try paleo, paleo is great because you're cutting out refined carbs and sugars and those types of foods, processed foods, which is great. So as long as whatever diet you subscribe to, you're eating really whole, good foods and you don't feel so restricted and you can make it work for you, I think that's fine. But ultimately, you want to eat what works for you. Eat what makes you thrive. I will give you a little guidance. Don't worry, I'm not going to end this pillar this way. But I do want to talk a little bit about eating food, not too much, mostly plants. If you've heard of Michael Pollan, you probably know his wonderful books. He has lots of books where he talks about these types of things. He was the one back, how many years ago now? I don't know how old his first book is, but I want to say at least 15 or 18 years ago. He was the one that brought the idea in that don't eat anything your grandmother or great-grandmother wouldn't eat. Don't eat anything that has an ingredient you cannot pronounce or you don't know what it is. They're just really simple eating guidelines that I really love. Eat whole, colorful foods. This is my simplest and probably most important recommendation for you. Eat a rainbow. What I mean by that is make sure that it doesn't necessarily mean in one meal, eat a variety of colors, but when you go grocery shopping, make sure you fill your cart with different colors. Why? Because color is a cue for health. Phytonutrients, phyto means plant, nutrient. Phytonutrients are chemicals that come in the tens of thousands that are found in plant foods. And phytonutrients help plants be healthy. They help them have a strong, robust immune system so that they can ward off pests and mold and fungus and those types of things. So phytonutrients are what give foods their taste, their color, and their texture. How do you get a variety of phytonutrients? You eat a variety of colors. It's really, really simple. So we know that, within winter squash, there's phytonutrients in there that are fantastic for eye health, that are fantastic for your immune system. We know foods that are blue, like blueberries, or within that blue color range, purple, like eggplants, are fantastic for your brain and have phytonutrients that help prevent Alzheimer's and dementia. So I think sometimes we get too singular and focus on like one food and just eat that one superfood all the time because we heard, oh, blueberries reduce the risk of dementia. But you don't want to do that. You want to focus on eating a wide variety of colorful foods so you get lots of different kinds of phytonutrients. So just some quick tips to round out this section. By the way, this is my roasted cauliflower hummus, which is delicious. That's from the Joyous cookbook. So what I want you to focus on is filling half your plate with plants, preferably more vegetables, at every meal and snack. Choose a good quality protein and good fat at every meal and snack as well. You know, you want to be, yes, you want plants to kind of be the hero of your plate of food, but don't forget the protein. I find that, you know, over the years being a nutritionist, I feel like it's more women, sorry, blaming us. I feel when I look at women's food journals, I often notice it's women who are lacking in the protein, but we need protein. It's so important to keep our energy up, to keep our metabolism boosted, and to keep us full and satisfied. Keep your blood sugar balanced, keep cravings away, just eat protein and fat. You need fat for the secretion of leptin. And leptin is a hormone that tells you to stop eating. So if you're not getting good fats with every meal and you're just eating a bowl of pasta, you know, with some marinara sauce, of course you're not going to be satisfied. Add some grilled chicken to that. Add a drizzle of olive oil or some goat cheese. You get the fat in, you get the protein in, you are so much more satisfied and you don't feel like eating a piece of chocolate cake afterwards. Just a couple more tips here. Start every day with lemon and water, followed by protein. Start your day ideally with making sure you eat something that has protein in it, whether that's eggs, scrambled eggs, a smoothie, unless you're fasting, of course, because protein really sets the stage for the day, balances your blood sugar, keeps you satisfied. Just some other tips to keep healthy snacks so that, you know, especially with so many people working from home, your kitchen is like just in the next room over. It's easy to just eat all the time. So choose one day a week where you prep some healthy snacks. Like these here are my oat spice and everything nice balls from the Joyous cookbook. They are so delicious. They're packed with fiber. Have like 2 or 3 of these as a snack and you'll be satisfied, you know, mid-afternoon. If you have that as a snack, you'll be satisfied until dinner. And the final thing I want to mention about this pillar is to eat when you're hungry, not by the clock. I know this can be hard for any of you who have kids because oftentimes you're eating at 5:30 or 6 or 6:30, you're eating earlier than you would like to. So sometimes it's not always easy to just eat when you're hungry, but not by the clock. But when you can, really eat only when you actually feel the sensation of hunger, because you will have better digestion and you'll have a better sense of your level of fullness. If you eat when you're not actually hungry, then that signaling doesn't happen efficiently. And the signaling of, hey, brain telling your body, stop eating, you're full, because you were never really that hungry to begin with. So for me personally, I like to fast about 12, 13 hours. And I don't always eat immediately when I get up. Sometimes I wait a little bit, wait an hour, wait 2 hours, depending when I finished my dinner the night before. And you'll notice a big difference in your energy and your digestion. Okay, so number 4 is the one I was talking about that I was saying that you might be wondering, what is Joy going to talk about? Be a good host. But now that you're seeing the image on the right here, you may that's a clue, right? Bacteria. So be a good host to your microbiome. So your microbiome are the community of trillions of microbes that live on you and in you. They are in every nook and cranny of your body. The large majority of them in the trillions can be found in your gut, in your large intestine. And they have such a huge role in your body because at a genetic level, you're actually less than 1% human. This is why I say be a good host, because you have to be a good host to the bacteria that call your body home. Your microbial genes take up about 2 to 20 million. There's around 2 to 20 million of them versus only 20,000 human genes. That's huge. That's a huge difference. So we are actually more microbial than we are human. So let's count the ways how these microbes and your microbiome can help you. So they help support the health of our immune system. 70% of the immune system actually resides in the gut. Your immune cells and your gut bacteria have a symbiotic relationship. They help each other. Your bacteria help your body identify between friend and foe. So whenever over the years, whenever I've had a client who gets colds and flus all the time, guess what I'm doing first and foremost? I'm asking them questions about their digestive wellness, talking to them about maybe taking a probiotic. What are they eating? How are they nourishing their microbiome? They also protect the health of our skin. Hang on, I just have to make the screen a bit smaller so I can see. They also help protect the health of our skin. You have millions, no, not millions, billions of microbes on your skin. And we know in research, people with acne and eczema, we know that in where those patches are, there's a reduced diversity of microbes. So diversity is really key. What that means is different kinds of microbes. In a healthy person with a healthy microbiome, they have lots of diversity. In someone who's not healthy, a great diversity of microbes in the gut, nor do they have it on their skin. And we know that a healthy gut is related to healthy skin. They also shape our mood and cognitive function. Every single neurotransmitter that's made in your brain is also made in your gut. 90% of the serotonin you produce is made in your gut. So if you suffer from depression or anxiety, really do a deep dive in what is going on with your gut health. And of course, they support healthy digestion. We know based on, oodles of research that certain strains of bacteria can help prevent constipation and diarrhea and cramping and all sorts of digestive ailments. Bacteria can really help you thrive. They reduce allergies. Also, microbes help to reduce asthma. We know, for example, based on research, that babies that are given antibiotics within the first year of life are at a much, much greater risk of allergies and asthma, developing that by the age of 3 or 4. They influence our body fat composition. So we know that when we've done tests on obese versus lean people, obese people have a severely reduced diversity of bacteria. People who are more lean have lots of diversity. And in animal studies have proven this to be true as well. When they've taken obese rodents and lean rodents and swapped their bacteria, well, I'm sure you can guess what can happen. Nothing changed to their diet or to their lifestyle, but these rodents that were given the lean bacteria, when they were obese, they became lean. And the lean rodents that were given the other bacteria, the obese rodents bacteria, they became obese. So we know that our bacteria influences our body fat composition. They impact inflammation. And by the way, there's good microbes and there's undesirable microbes. And we know that some microbes can actually increase inflammation and some can lower inflammation. And of course, protect us from disease. Having a healthy microbiome is absolutely key. Okay, so here are some factors that can really hamper the microbiome. We know that artificial sweeteners reduce diversity. We know that many different types of food additives, such as those found in ice cream and dairy products, can reduce diversity of the microbiome. We know that antibiotics carpet bomb the microbiome because they're killing everything good and bad. And many different pharmaceutical drugs also reduce the diversity of your microbiome. Something else I want to mention that's not pictured here is something called glyphosate. Glyphosate is the main active ingredient of Roundup, which is an herbicide that is sprayed all over North America. And we now know that glyphosate negatively impacts the microbiome as well, unfortunately. So how can you support your microbiome? Well, don't eat artificial sweeteners. Choose organic food more often than not so you can avoid Roundup because it's not allowed on organic farmed foods. Eat less packaged foods and be a good host by eating lots of plants. I already talked a bit about the phytonutrients, but colorful foods contain phytonutrients. And phytonutrients actually many of them act like prebiotics. So the food you're eating is actually feeding the bacteria. Pretty cool. The prebiotics feed the probiotics. Phytonutrients, many of them are prebiotic. So kombucha, fermented foods are fantastic. On the right there is my purple cabbage sauerkraut, which is really easy to make. Sauerkraut's like the easiest thing in the world to make. People get so intimidated by it. So easy. Kimchi, which is sauerkraut's spicy cousin, great for gut health. And just fruits and vegetables, eating lots of plant foods, fermented foods and plant foods. And of course, I really like fermented protein powders. So most of the recipes you'll find on joyoushealth.com, I use a protein powder and I use a fermented one because fermented foods, the nutrients in a food that is fermented, whether it's sauerkraut or your protein powder, the nutrients in there become more bioavailable. That means it's easier for your body to digest and absorb a food when it's fermented. You probably know this for yourself. If you're eating raw cabbage salad versus eating sauerkraut, you may have a lot of gas and bloating with raw cabbage versus having sauerkraut, which is almost like a pre-digested food. Now, if you find that fermented foods really bother your stomach, then you definitely want to take a deeper dive into your digestive system and why your gut is not dealing with fermented foods well. That's a whole other, I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but it's definitely something to look into. Okay, pillar number 5 is to respect rest. And, you know, as a nutritionist over the years, I would say this is sort of the one pillar that most people overlook and don't realize the importance of this. You know, there's been so many times over the years. I remember this one particular client. I like using him as an example. I won't say his name, but I used to personal train as well before I was a nutritionist, and I was working with him and I gave him a meal plan. So he was eating everything I suggested. He was working out with me like 3-4 times a week, but he only slept like 5 hours a night and he could not lose weight. He's like, Joy, I'm doing everything you're telling me. And when we really looked into it, we realized he was always stressed out. He was a very high strung person, and he had a very demanding job, which is why he worked late into the night. He worked till like 11 p.m. and he was not respecting rest and he couldn't lose weight. Yet, you know, reducing his calories, exercising, eating well, he was doing all those things right. But it wasn't surprising because sleep is so important. It's one of 7 pillars. 1 in 3 adults are sleep deprived. Sleep is an important time in our day, if not the most important. We're actually meant to go to sleep and awake with the sun. This is known as our natural sleep-wake cycle, also known as our circadian rhythm. Sleep is essential for a healthy mood and creativity. Our brain actually detoxifies at night. It's really fascinating. So amyloid plaques build up in our brain. That's one of the causes of Alzheimer's, right? And your brain at night detoxifies. And it's like a broom that comes through and cleanses out the amyloid plaques when you get a good quality sleep. So it makes sense that getting adequate sleep reduces your risk of chronic diseases, including dementia. Helps to control your blood glucose levels. Have you ever noticed when you don't get enough sleep, that's when you want to eat chocolate chip cookies, or you want beer or wine, or you just want all the carbs? The body is smart. When you are tired, it makes sense that your body craves stimulation. It craves foods that convert to glucose very quickly. And obviously you crave stimulants like caffeine as well. And sleep is so essential for the strength of your immune system. And of course, maintaining a healthy weight. So get a better sleep. Adults need 7 to 9 hours a night. And there's no such thing when people say, oh, I only need 5, I only need 6. They're often people who are jacked on sugar. They are addicted to coffee. And as soon as you take those 2 things away, oh, okay, I do need more sleep. So avoid alcohol or stimulants before bed. Even though alcohol is not a stimulant, alcohol does not allow you to get into the deeper stages of sleep. And the deep stage of sleep is so important because when you sleep, this is when the cells of your muscles, your skin, and your bones regenerate more than any other time throughout a 24-hour period. So you may notice this, people who look older than their biological age are often those people who have high levels of stress and not getting enough sleep. It ages your skin when you don't make sleep a priority. So how can you get into how can you improve your sleep hygiene? Just a couple tips here. Avoid bright lights and technology before bed. If you must be on your phone or be checking your email, wear blue light blocking glasses, but you need to make sure they're the ones that are orange or red. The clear, very stylish blue light blocking glasses don't actually block out the blue light, enough blue light. Take a warm, relaxing bath. Use essential oils. Lavender is a research-proven essential oil to help reduce stress, help you feel relaxed. I have like a lavender hydrosol that I just spray on my bed and on my pillow. Drink a calming cup of herbal tea, but like really good quality tea. Chamomile is fantastic. Chamomile is great to help to really calm the body. Valerian root is good. Passion flower. These are all herbs that help to calm the nervous system, which can really help if you're someone who's high strung or you have that sort of monkey brain. And practice deep breathing. I'm a really big fan of 4-7-8 breathing. So breathing in for a count of 4, holding for a count of 7, and breathing out for a count of 8. If you have trouble turning your brain off at night, do that for 10, do it 10 times, and it will make a major difference. I promise. So pillar number 6 is to cultivate your community. Community is very key to longevity. To live a long, happy, and healthy life, we need others around us. And I know that has been challenging for sure with the pandemic the last year and a half. So hopefully you've been able to connect with people in other ways. But now that you are able to see people in person, do it because it is really, really key for your mental health and the person's mental health that you're spending time with. There's lots of research on this. One study I want to mention, you can Google, it's so easy to find it. It's called the 75-year Harvard study that they did, and they found that social connections are good for health. Obviously, this makes people live happier, healthier, and longer lives. Relationship quality really matters. So good relationships appear to protect our brains. And it makes sense because stress and cortisol puts us at a much greater risk for basically all chronic disease. So when we have good relationships and we have a good support network and community in place, this can really help us live a longer, happier, healthy life. And we see this in the Blue Zone research too, where people live to 100 plus years. This is one of the pillars of the Blue Zone research, that is having a sense of community, because having a sense of community gives you a sense of belonging. Humans, we're pack animals. We're meant to be with each other, and we really thrive. So when we're in each other's presence. So, throughout the pandemic, we did a lot of video calls with family and friends to keep people close. So really, the key thing is not to isolate yourself. Keep your community close. Be involved in the community. Now, pillar number 7 is my last pillar. And now I'm going to talk about mind your mind, the importance of what you believe, because your beliefs impact your biology, literally. Every second of every day, what you're thinking, whether you're stressed. When you're stressed, you secrete hormones that increase your blood pressure, that make your pupils dilate, that move blood and energy away from your gut into your arms and legs when you may be sitting at a computer all day. So your thoughts and your mental wellness directly impacts your biology. So you are what you believe. So I'm a big fan of affirmations. I'm also a huge fan of meditation, but certain neural pathways are increased when people practice affirmations and meditation. So self-affirmations have been shown to decrease health deteriorating stress. They can help us to perceive otherwise threatening messages with less resistance. Mantras are science-backed, of course, but they're not magic. You really do have to do the work. Mantras, I think, are something that's easy to do. If you want to take it to the next level, or maybe you're already there with your mindfulness, but I'm a big fan of meditation. There are so many wonderful meditation apps. Many of them are free. Insights Timer is one that's free. I use an app called Calm. So I meditate every single day. I just pop in my earbuds. I either do it first thing in the morning or I do it before I go to bed. And it made a huge, I actually talk about this on my YouTube channel and on my blog as well. The profound difference that I felt in my life when I made meditation a regular practice. So I'm going to finish off with this particular mantra that I really like, and feel free to take a picture of it. I'm the architect of my well-being. I build my foundation with every choice I make. So every time you eat, you have an ability to either fight disease or fuel disease. Now, it doesn't mean that you never, indulge. Of course, it's, all about balance. But I think when you remind yourself, if you get into the habit of reminding yourself, okay, this meal that I'm eating, my main meal for the day, is packed with phytonutrients. I have some fish here. I'm going to have a little bread. I'm going to have a little sourdough bread that I'm going to dip in some olive oil. I'm going to have some peaches and some mango for dessert. So remember that every time you eat, you have a powerful opportunity to really help yourself thrive. And every time you choose to go walk to get your groceries instead of driving, or every time you decide to have a walking date, to meet up with a friend and go for a walking date instead of sitting down at a bar, you're doing something really, really good for your body. And we are our own best health advocate. We're the best person to take care of us. And when you really tune in to what your body needs and listen to your intuition, you will find that you make the best choices and we truly build the foundation of a healthy body and a healthy mind. So just to summarize the 7 pillars I talked about today, be aware. So having awareness of what you eat, having awareness of how you feel, getting movement all throughout your day. Remember, sit less, move more. Nourish your body, eat a rainbow of colorful foods, but make sure you always get protein and fat to balance your blood sugar. Be a good host to your microbiome. Remember that there's trillions of microbes living within you that impact your mood, your body fat composition, your appetite, your inflammation, everything. So what are you feeding them? If you're feeding them sugar, refined carbs, alcohol, you're feeding the bad bacteria, not the good guys. Respecting rest, really having a good sleep hygiene. Have a good sleep hygiene means aiming for 7 to 9 hours, but setting yourself up for success. So winding down in the evening. Like in our home here, we don't have, as soon as we put our daughter to bed, we have only one light on in the whole house. We keep the lights very dim. And yeah, lots of times we do watch TV in the evening, but we're not watching TV. We don't have a TV in our bedroom and we're not staring at it till we literally go to bed. Cultivate your community. Keep your community close. We know there's so much research that shows the importance of social connections for mental well-being and for longevity. And finally, take care of your mind. It's the only one you have. So meditation, there's many mindfulness-based practices like doing affirmations. That one I just showed you, that's one you can read every single day. Say it out loud, put it on your fridge, or put it on your bathroom mirror. Okay, so if you enjoyed this presentation today, please connect with me. You can find me at Joyous Health on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. I have a whole channel where I have hundreds of videos. I share lots of recipes on Pinterest, and I also have a podcast called the Joyous Health Podcast. So I think I'm going to hand it over to Ali now. Ali is with Oxford Connects because she is going to check for your questions. Thank you so much, Oxford Connects, for having me here today. And thank you everyone so much for joining me today. So if there are any questions, I am very happy to answer them.
Hi, Joy.
Hi there.
Yeah, we've got a question from Diane. She said, for those of us over 60, do you recommend smaller meals and lower calories?
Smaller meals and lower calories. Well, I think it really depends on you. As you age, kind of when you hit 60 and beyond, you don't actually produce as many digestive enzymes, and you produce less hydrochloric acid. So this is why many elderly people, I'm not saying 60s is elderly, but many elderly people kind of start to lose their appetite because they don't digest their food as well. So you may find as you get older that you feel better eating smaller meals. I wouldn't necessarily say that you should be reducing your calories. It really depends how much you're eating. But as a nutritionist, I don't recommend a certain caloric intake. I don't subscribe to that philosophy of eating because it doesn't allow what you really want to focus on is eating quality of foods versus, counting calories kind of thing.
Okay, perfect. We have another question. Are organic foods just plain superior to normal foods?
Well, we know in the research, the thing is with organic, I'll talk about the research in a sec, but with organic foods, what you need to know is that synthetic pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, GMOs, Roundup with glyphosate are strictly prohibited. And farms are audited every single year. So they check the soil. They are checking it for contaminants. Some people will say, well, organic food still has pesticides on it. Yes, it can have, there can be cross contamination from other farms, but you're still doing a better job if you're eating apples that are organic. So I'm not saying that you need to eat 100% organic to be healthy. But what I do in particular is for the foods that I know are the highest sprayed with pesticides, because pesticides are endocrine disruptors. Pesticides are chemicals that when they get into our body, attach to our estrogen receptors and they mimic estrogen. So foods that are really sprayed with a lot of pesticides, I always make sure I buy them organic, like apples, for example. I always only buy organic apples. There's a list that you can Google called the Dirty Dozen, and it gives you 12 of the foods with the highest level of pesticides. Now, the other thing is when you are supporting organic farming, you're supporting a healthier planet because there's less chemicals being sprayed. And we know in research that organic foods have higher levels of phytonutrients. There are over 23,000 known phytonutrients. And it's very sensible when you think about it, because a plant has to have phytonutrients in order to thrive. When a plant is sprayed with tons of fungicides and fertilizers, what does it need phytonutrients for? To have a strong immune system, because it's got chemicals being sprayed all over it so no pests eat them. So organic foods are more robust and therefore require more phytonutrients to remain healthy. And you benefit from that because you benefit from eating those phytonutrients that have hundreds of benefits for you.
Thanks, Joy. We have another question here that's asked, what is the best food to ease bloating? Do you have any suggestions there?
Yeah, I would say there's not necessarily like a food to ease bloating. There's, many different causes of bloating. A lot of people tend to get progressively bloated as the day goes on because they're not producing enough stomach acid and digestive enzymes to break down their food. So there's a couple of things I would recommend. Apple cider vinegar, like a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar in a small glass of water before a meal, or just if you feel bloated, can help to really reduce bloating because it helps your organs actually create more digestive enzymes, and it helps your gut create more hydrochloric acid. Low hydrochloric acid and low enzymes is a really, really common cause of bloating, as are food allergies or food sensitivities. If you eat a lot of breads and cereals that contain wheat and gluten, if you eat a lot of dairy and you're always bloated, I would actually cut out those two things and see how you feel, because you may be sensitive. Dairy is one of the top 10 allergens, a very common food sensitivity. Same thing with wheat. I know a lot of people think, oh, it's, gluten is just a fad. No, it's actually not a fad. There is so much research on gluten and how much people benefit from going off of it. And the final thing I want to recommend about bloating is to fast for a minimum of 12 hours. So, if you eat dinner at 7 p.m., meaning you don't finish till like 7:30, you do not want to eat before 7:30 a.m. And if you can push that a little longer and not eat till 8:30, that is a really, really great thing to do for your digestive wellness. So those are just some tips. And probiotics as well. Probiotics can really help with bloating.
Cool. We have another question from Christina, who's asked, for vegetarians, can you explain what fake meats should be avoided and what a normal intake of soy should be?
Sorry, the question is, can I advise what fake meats or why fake meats should be avoided?
Can you explain what fake meats she's asked? So the types, I guess.
Okay. Well, okay. So, there are so many different, because I don't personally buy any of those like soy-based burgers, hot dogs, soy cheese, all those types of things I recommend avoiding. What I would recommend to that person is just read your labels. You can get really good organic tempeh, which is fermented soy, and there's no other additives in there. You can chop that up and put that in a stir fry, or you can barbecue it, or you can put it in a wrap, and you're getting a fantastic source of protein with no other food additives for relatively inexpensive. Tempeh is one of the best vegetarian proteins to eat, much better than just eating, tofu. So tempeh is fermented soy. So if you're vegetarian, the key thing is to have lots of variety: lentils, beans, tempeh. The challenge with vegans and vegetarians is they focus too much on just having soy, and soy is one of the top 10 allergens and one of the most common food sensitivities as well. Also, soy is 90% of soy crops are genetically modified, so they're sprayed with a high level of Roundup, which contains glyphosate. So I would suggest avoid fake meat. Don't really avoid those. If when I say fake meat, if you see a huge list of ingredients and you don't know what anything is, stick to single ingredient food.
Cool. I hope that answered your question, Christina. And I think that looks like we've rounded up the questions, Joy.
Okay, amazing. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Very much.
Yeah, if anyone has any other questions, feel free to reach out.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us, Joy.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.